All right.
Hi.
Hi, Ollie. How are you? How you
Hi.
doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm hoping my internet keeps up with our interview today. So, crossing my
Me
fingers.
too.
Hopefully,
Mine's a
everyone
little,
can hear okay. Yeah.
mine's a little
And
spotty, so let
yeah,
me know.
it's a little funny. I know you're in you're in the poor the dorm system is not a great place to do this, but oh well. Anyways, thank you for joining me today. So this is
Yeah.
our third episode of the SSI interview series. Today, for anyone watching, we have Holly Spinden, who is our botany intern, and we are going to be talking a bit about her background, why she loves plants, and some of the research that you're doing with the Castanea wildflower, paintbrush wildflower. So I'm excited to get to know a little bit more about you. Um, and yeah, for anyone also just joining who doesn't know, SSI stands for the Summer Systematics Institute. It is a summer undergraduate internship program run at the California Academy of Sciences. And I am the host, Clarissa Lam, and I'm a science communications intern this summer, while the rest of the interns are actually doing lab science. And so I get to talk to everyone about all of the research they're doing. Holly, can you hear me okay? I know you're kind of like freezing every now and
Oh
again.
no. Yes, I can. I can hear you well, and I can see you well too.
Okay, cool. All right, then we can go ahead and get started. If you want to just like upload your slideshow, I can share it whenever it comes through
Awesome.
on my end. All right, sweet. Okay, Holly, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Awesome. So hi, I'm Holly. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm originally from Fort Collins, Colorado, where I still live. I'm a student at Colorado State University, but I originally went to Cotty College, which is a small women's college in Missouri, where I got my Associate of Science degree. Um, and now at CSU, I'm studying biology with a botany concentration and an interdisciplinary global environmental sustainability minor. And then I'm at the Academy working with Dr. Sarah Jacobs on the botany project, which is focusing on the Castanea genus, or more commonly known as the paintbrush wildflower, which has been just a blast this summer.
Yeah, and then you already went ahead, but like,
Sorry.
why do you love science? No, you're great. Why do you
Yeah,
love science? Tell us more about like, from a young age, what got you interested in it?
definitely. So I grew up, I think, like most natural scientists, I really grew up outdoors and, loving to climb trees and catch toads and stuff. But what was a little bit unique about my upbringing is that my parents really fostered that connection with nature because my mom used to be a ranger at Rocky Mountain National Park. And so every year we would go camping and hiking. And so I grew up with someone who knew about, the natural world and could give me a pretty solid informal education at home. I also grew up kind of on a farm out in the country. And so I really had to entertain myself by just being by myself outdoors. And I just grew to love it. But I didn't ever think that you could have a job like working outdoors unless you worked at a museum, like the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, which I love to visit, until I went to Catalina Island in 8th grade. And that was my first introduction to basically environmental education and the concept of sustainability, which just fascinated me. And I had kind of always been intrigued by it as a child, but I didn't really realize it was something you could like pursue in education and even pursue as a career until I was in 8th grade. And then in high school, I had some teachers that really fostered a love of science in me. And by college, I knew that biology is what I wanted to do.
Nice. And then now, you're in college and you're here for the summer. So can you tell us more about what you're doing this summer and the research you're working on with Dr. Sarah Jacobs?
Yeah, definitely. So, like you said, Dr. Jacobs is my mentor, and I'm working on the Castanea wildflower project. So, my research, in short, is just measuring morphological traits of, so like plant, like leaf size, flower size, of herbarium specimens. Herbarium specimen is kind of like those sheets of papers you see on the top photo. And I measure parts of those flowers, and then we're going to map them on a map and see how those traits vary across space, and whether that variation might be due to hybridization or whether it's like ecologically caused. So there's only so much you can do in 2 months, but it's been a really interesting project so far. And I've loved being able to work on a botany-specific REU. I applied to, I think, about 10, and this was the only one that had like a botany-specific program, which was really cool. And then also just working in systematics has been so interesting. I'm sure you feel similarly, like without, I had taken one systematics class prior to this, but it's just been amazing to work in research dedicated to systematics. And also working with Sarah has been amazing. She's like, I feel like we get along super well, and I've just learned so much from her about paintbrush and just about what being a researcher means. And then I've also loved working at the academy with the whole cohort, and just the focus that everyone has on equity and diversity has been amazing to see, especially in a professional setting. I love that.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to backtrack a little bit just because I know not everyone knows what systematics is. Do you think you could give kind of like a short definition or rundown of what it is?
Yeah, definitely. So when I hear systematics, I think taxonomy, which is basically the like naming of species and genuses, etc. And then phylogenetics, which is the organization of those. So like evolutionary relationships, etc. And it's just the combination of those two things to create like phylogenetic trees, or understand how lineages evolve and diversify. So I'm sure I missed something in that explanation, but
no, it's great. That's like, I think it's so funny though, because like systematics is what so many of the researchers here at the academy are focused on. And at the same time, like we're so focused on naming species and describing species, and still no one has a like set definition of what a species is. It's
completely
kind of crazy, you know?
It is.
Yeah, I knew like in the science world there's so much debate, but I didn't expect it at a place where it's like pretty much all they're doing is describing species, or not all they're doing, but one of the main things. Yeah.
And I think it's just so interesting how that definition varies across like kind of what you're studying would really have an effect on kind of how you define that. Like in plants, for example, you can't really use the biological species concept, which says that two different species are, if they can have fertile offspring, because a lot of plants hybridize and will have fertile offspring even when they're, considered different species for other reasons. So I think that like difference is interesting between different study fields. Yeah.
Yeah. And then a little bit more about Castanea, but what makes Castanea so interesting or special?
Yeah, well, it's a really charismatic genus. So it's the paintbrush wildflower, and it's a really common paintbrush throughout North America, especially in the West. So if you go to like a tourist shop, and you'll probably almost 100% be guaranteed to see Castanea on postcards, pictures, etc. But it's so like mysterious because it's a really young genus. So it hasn't had a lot of time to speciate, basically. And the boundaries between species in Castanea are really fuzzy and blurred. And there's a lot of hybridization, like I talked about before, that happens in Castanea. And then ecologically, it's just a fascinating wildflower because it's what is called a hemiparasite, which means that it can live on its own and photosynthesize, but it prefers to have a host plant and take foods and nutrients from the roots of plants nearby, which I definitely didn't know until I worked on this project, but I think it's so interesting. They're just like secret little thieves under the ground, snatching away food.
Yeah, definitely. I remember Sarah also said something crazy about the Castanea is like they can be in insanely different climates. It was like super cold, super hot, super high elevation, right at sea level. It was, yeah. I don't know.
Completely.
I don't know any other plants that are really like that are that widespread in so many
Yeah,
different
there's definitely a few lineages, but it's just it's really cool because it's like it just has that association with the Western United States, and you can find it everywhere. You can find it in the deserts in Utah, and then in the tundra, and like all over North America. And it's really cool. That's a great point.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And then, now that we only have like 2.5 weeks left of this internship, which is blowing my mind. It's gone
It's
by so fast.
crazy.
I'm gonna miss all of you guys so much. But but what are your plans? For after this
Yeah.
internship, and you're going into your senior year or finishing up your senior year. But what are your plans for after graduation too?
Definitely. So I still have about a year and a half left of my undergrad because I did transfer. So I need an extra semester, which is totally fine because there's still so much that I don't know about botany, which I'm learning so much about that. This summer, you think like you're like, oh yeah, I got it, and then you're like, oh my god, there's just a world of stuff I have never learned, and so much more I get to learn, which is so exciting. Um, but I've been really inspired by this internship to just explore all of my interests in depth and not just kind of go with one thing I think might be interesting, like research or plants even. I think after I graduate, I would like to take a year off to explore environmental education. Especially, I think it'd be really fun to work at a camp like the one I went to in 8th grade, and be like a counselor and help teach younger people about sustainability and environmentalism. And I don't know if that's what I would want to do as a career, but I think for a year that would be really a wonderful experience. And I'd love to get more field experiences like that as well. But then I think graduate school is definitely in my future. And I came to this internship thinking I would probably go to graduate school, but I'm leaving knowing that I will go to graduate school, and I'll get probably a master's degree. And then I maybe will get a PhD, but I'll just start off with the master's. But I don't know what really field I'll do, but I'm going to take my time figuring that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I've really gained from this internship is the importance of pursuing interests and like making change beyond your career. Like we had a lecture where someone told us about how in Madagascar he studies ants in Madagascar, but he's also worked on a project using insects as a protein source for the local people in Madagascar, and how that has helped like agriculture and also prevent bush hunting, so like burning down the forests of Madagascar to get food. And I think that's just so cool because that's kind of within his scope of research, but completely beyond it at the same time. And so I've been very inspired to look for projects like that in my own career moving forward.
Yeah, not just Brian, or not, well, I said his name, but yeah, not just that scientist, but also, a couple others. I feel like we've had some great just role models so far this summer, like Dr. Lauren Esposito,
Mm-hmm.
and some others, showing that you can put energy into other things outside of just research, which I feel like for people, scientists like you and a lot of others who came into this program who are thinking about or planning on pursuing like a PhD program, that's sometimes a little bit out of the ordinary or off the beaten path for researchers and people with PhDs to be putting so much time into other projects that aren't just papers and research and getting published and all of that
Completely.
stuff.
Yeah. And not that only that they can do it or that we can do it, but that we should be doing it. I think that has been really like inspirational to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And then backtracking a bit, I guess we'll go into our final, kind of official question, but
Mm-hmm.
why plants? Why do you love plants so much?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I feel like everyone has kind of a special connection to certain plants. I feel really honored that I can work on Castanea because I think for some people, paintbrush is that special plant. But like I said, it enhances the experience of being alive. just to kind of understand the context of the world in which you exist and understand that you're just surrounded by other life forms that are so completely different from you, but still, you coexist and they coexist. There's so much diversity in the plant world. And, you think like ferns are living alongside trees, which evolved millions of years later. And it's just like, it just blows my mind. It's crazy. I go on and on, but I love, I put all these pictures of plants because one of my favorite things in the world to do is just take walks and observe and see what plants are in people's lawns or, along the trail, etc. And, I'm always surprised by what is out there. Like there's at the red one at the bottom is like a passion flower, which, is so crazy to just see in San Francisco, but it's here, and then the little beach strawberries to the right of that, like, it's just, yeah, I could go on and on.
Are these all photos you've taken here in the Bay Area this summer?
No. I think 3 out of the 7 or 8 are. One of them, the Castanea up in the top right corner, is a picture that Sarah actually took in Utah. So like you were saying, it's growing out in the desert. And then the pictures of Castanea earlier in the slides are ones that I took on the coast of California. But yeah. And then I did take the 2 slide pictures, but that was from like a class a few years ago.
Yeah. That's the other thing that's been so surprising to me is, you're coming from Colorado, you went to school, briefly in Missouri, but so many of the plants that we've come across here in the Bay Area. It always amazes me that you know so many. But yeah, just left and right, we're asking you to identify things on our walks, just to work.
Thank you. It's fun to kind of flex that muscle because I can only really identify to like a species level, sometimes a genus level, pretty much never to a species level. But it's amazing what, someone who really is like an expert can do, because I can like skim the surface barely enough to, impress like someone who doesn't know anything about plants. But yeah, it's amazing how deep you can go into botany. Definitely.
Yeah, it's such a fun tool to have in your tool, or just to be able to pull out anywhere you're going.
Completely.
It's really, really fun.
What's your favorite plant? Do you have one?
Sorry, you glitched out, but my favorite plant.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, your favorite plant.
Oh, no. Oh, there we go. That's a hard one. I think I really like rattlesnake grass.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's really fun. People, if anyone is, watching is in California, you can sometimes see it. It's around. I don't think it's native. I'm actually 95% sure it's not native, but it's really fun just to look at and, to kind of shake the little rattlesnake seed pods that they have. It's such a neat looking plant. And I just love all the different variety of grasses that are growing in California. I think grasses are what I love the most.
Yeah, I've been surprised at what a rich history California grasses have. You wouldn't think that, but completely, yeah. Rattlesnake grass is really cool.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite plant?
I have a few. I think as I get more into botany, I will probably have a few lineages I really like. But right now, I really like Fragaria, which are strawberries. Just because they're cute and fun and really charismatic little plants, and they're also can be found pretty much everywhere in North America, especially along the kind of the western part. In California, I've seen a ton, so I've loved that.
So nice. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Holly. I know I've been rounding up all the interns for their interviews. It's been a bit of a struggle, but I'm love being able to sit down and get to talk to all of you guys and understand more about why you're so excited about the things that you're researching. But yeah, do you have any last things you'd like to say? Otherwise, we'll say goodbye and log off.
I think so. I just want to say thank you for doing this interview too. You're doing a great job. And then if anyone watching has any questions or wants to contact me for whatever reason, you are welcome to email me at my Academy email, which I don't think will ever expire. So even if you're watching this like in the future, please email me there. And
Yeah.
that's on the screen. But yeah, thank you so much,
Right.
Clarissa.
Yeah, thank you, Holly. Bye, everyone.
Bye.